So I want you to think back. Think back to when you first got married, or even let's go a little bit further. Think about when you were engaged, when you all were just meeting, how you were so in love and you all wanted to be talking all the time and you guys were on the phone all the time and spending all this time together. How were you able to figure out what he loved, what he liked, what he disliked? How did you figure out what his past history was, like things he'd been through? What were his experiences? How did you learn all those things? Exactly. Through conversations. Exactly. And now that you have gotten married, have you stopped having conversations? Please don't tell me you have. So, if you have guessed, today's video is going to be about conversations and how important conversations are. So, this topic kind of came on because I was flipping through one of my journals and I was looking back in the month of June and July of last year. And I realized that there were about 3 to 4 weeks in a straight that my pastor was talking about conversations. And I was like, this must be like a really, really big deal for him to take so many weeks to talk about it. So aside from noticing that in my journal, I'm also working with an amazing coach right now. If you're listening right now, Ina, shout out to you. She's awesome. Um, and one of the things that she is helping me understand and grasp is that conversations are super important. You don't know what a person needs. You don't know what their desires are. You don't know what they need help with. You don't even know if you can help them if you are not having conversations, right? Conversations are the way to get into a person's head, or and they tell you, if you just listen, they tell you what they need. And um, along this same line of conversation, they made me think about Macy, which is one of the sales girls, something she said, which was, the one listening is the one in control. Yeah, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? But the one listening is the one in control. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit strange, especially in today's culture, right? Where the loudest one is the one that gets the attention, right? And the one that's the loudest, they feel like they won. But won what? What did they really win? When you at the end of that conversation, you really got to think about, was the goal accomplished? Like, what was the mission? What was the purpose of that conversation? Has it been accomplished? Um, are you in a place where you're able to help that person? Like, is your heart in a place where, like, I want to help them, or I think I can help them? Or maybe you've already solved their problem by just listening to them talk. Or maybe you haven't quite solved it, but maybe you have started in your mind to put a plan together so that you can be able to help them, right? Now, the next thing I want you to think about is, um, what are your words being used for? Now, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about something that my husband used to say. He hasn't said it in a while, but I remember he said it to me a couple of times, and he said, like, and I may not be saying it verbatim, but it went something like, babe, children use their words to, like, craft their world. They use their words to create what they want or what they want to happen. And I kind of had to stop and think about it for a bit. But when you think about it, it really is true, because if you think about it, children are not necessarily like in control of anything, because they have parents at school, they have teachers, or wherever they are. Like, there's someone always kind of in control and guiding them and telling them what to do. So all they really have, I guess the power they have, is their words, right? They use their words to communicate, what they want, what they need, what they want to happen. Like, they use their words to just tell you everything, right? So I thought about that and I was like, that is so interesting. Now, I'm also thinking about, as a teacher, I'm a teacher by trade, and I think about the many ways that my students throughout each day, how they use their words, right? They use their words to communicate with each other. Some of them use their words for not so good things. amongst other students. And some of them, they use their words to build friendships and build relationships, right? And as the teacher in the room, I also have to make a decision how I want to use my words, if I want to use my words to break them down, or if I want to use my words to build them up and pull out the best in them, right? We have a choice in each situation, right? What do we want to use our words for? Now, recently I thought about, like, as a mom, I thought about my words recently, and it kind of hurt my heart a little bit, but it's me being totally transparent, right? Um, I was thinking about the conversations that I have with my sons. Though my two youngest sons, I would say, those of you who know me, I have four sons. Two of them, the two younger ones, are 8 and 10 right now. So I was thinking about a time of the day where we are moving about a lot, which is in the mornings, right? I have to wake them up in the morning, and I'm trying to make sure that they're, getting their teeth brushed, getting in the shower, having their breakfast, getting dressed, making sure their bags are packed, and just I'm like, I'm getting them moving and going. And a lot of times I feel like I am just rushing them along. And sometimes I look at the clock and I find myself getting anxious, and I'm like, it's time to go, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Make sure this is done. And I found, I felt such a sense of guilt. And I'm like, man, my words, the words that I'm using with them, during that window, that time of the day, I'm like, it's not the most pleasant conversation, So I told myself, Tamaya, just make sure that you are finding time throughout the day, other times of the day, to have intentional conversations with them, pleasant conversations, relaxed conversations where we can just talk. We talk like when I pick them up from school, but they're mostly talking to each other because they miss each other. They haven't seen each other all day. So they're kind of doing their own thing. But we talk briefly about how their day was and things like that. But they're talking to each other. Then they start their homework. And so most of the intentional conversations happen at the dinner table. That's a time where we kind of talk and unpack things and just discuss. It's mostly, what's happening in the world, what's happening at school with their friends, or things that they want to do, and their ideas, things that they want to do or they want to create. And we also talk at bedtime, right? Because we take time to read, and a lot of times the reading leads to conversation. So those are just two times that we carve out just to make sure that we are having intentional conversations. So I want you to that's just me being transparent about something I noticed about my conversations with my sons. So just think about what your words are being used for with the important people in your life. What about your husband? What are your words being used for with him? Depends on the conversation, right? Because some conversations, it may just be for you to listen, and other conversations, he may need your help to help him figure some things out, or solve a problem, or come up with an idea on how to respond, different things. So depends on the type of conversation, right? Now, I want you to think about, why do conversations exist, right? Why do we have words? God created everything in this world, right? He created everything, every animal, every being, right? But we are the only ones that have words. We're the only ones that have speech. Why do we have these words? Why do we have this ability to communicate? Now, I want you to think about Adam, right? Because we think we know why we have our words, but Adam got it, right? Adam knew exactly what the words were for. And this is from a book I've been reading, and I mentioned it before. It's called Moving Up to 4D by Dr. Bill Winston. And what he said in that book is that Adam was aware that his words were mainly for accomplishing or creating something, not just merely his expressing his thoughts and opinions, right? I'm going to tell you again. Adam was aware that his words were mainly for accomplishing or creating, not just expressing his thoughts and opinions. When I read that, I was like, it kind of like punched me in the gut, and I was like, man, I've been using my words for the wrong thing all these years. And it's like, you think about it, use your words to create, right? Even use your words to create what you want it to be, right? Now, if that's what Adam did, that's what God did. He did it, right? Because in the beginning, you look back at Genesis, in the beginning, he created, right? He created things with his words. He spoke, he said it, and it came to pass, right? So if God did it, if he used his words to create, we are made in his likeness, right? In his image. So we are supposed to be doing the same thing. We are supposed to be using our words to create. Um, on the opposite side of that is idle words. Be very careful with your idle words, right? Think about what the purpose of conversations are. Think about, why am I going into this conversation? Why am I even talking to this person, right? Could be a person that you go around and you all just have kind of, nonsensical conversation, idle chit chat. Think about it. Um, we're all guilty of it, right? But just be aware. Now that you know what you know, just be aware of your conversations, what the purpose of the conversation is, and what is it that you are trying to accomplish, right? Like, what's going to be done by having this conversation. Um, Now, just a quick recap, all right? Be intentional with your words. Think about what the purpose of the conversation is. I don't mean necessarily verbally, like you don't have to say it out loud, but in the back of your mind should be running like, what's the purpose of this conversation? What are we trying to accomplish here? Understand when you are supposed to be speaking and when you are supposed to be listening. As I said earlier, sometimes the person just wants to talk. They want you to just listen. Other times they might invite your input, right? Because they need help solving something, or they need your help correcting a certain situation. All right. No idle words. Be very aware of idle words. Maybe even the people that you have those type of conversations with, you might have to redirect the conversation. You might have to repurpose the reason that you are even having conversations with certain people. Think about it. And the last thing is, use your conversations to learn about other people, right? Once again, the example I gave in the beginning. How do you get to know anybody? How did you get to know your husband? How did you get to know your friend, your best friend, right? You talked, you all had conversations, and through conversation, you learn about them. You know what they like, what they dislike. You know what they need help with. You know in your mind, just by listening, if you are able to even help them. So think about these things when you are having conversations. And I want to say that this is part one, because more than likely we're going to have to do another video about conversations, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? So I hope this video blessed you on today. If you know someone that would benefit from learning more about conversations, by all means, please hit the share button and share the video with them. And if you are not subscribed to our community, please, by all means, hit the subscribe button. Also, in the description, you'll see a link to my blog, where you can also get more content from me every week. Subscribe to my blog there and keep up to date. And I will see you next time. Thank you for joining.